The first time I saw her, she was standing at the edge of a ruined city, her back to me, silhouetted against the crackling auroras that scarred the alien sky. I was a long way from Earth, several thousand light-years to be exact, and even farther from the version of myself who had once thought humanity's destiny was merely to survive. By the time I stood there, rifle slung across my shoulder, breathing the thin, metallic air of a half-terraformed world, I had already fought in 3 campaigns, buried friends on 2 planets, and killed more enemies than I cared to count. But none of that prepared me for her. She wasn't human. Not exactly. Her frame was too tall, her skin too smooth and reflective, like obsidian dipped in starlight. Strange bioluminescent veins pulsed across her arms, fading in and out with her slow breaths. The curve of her back was graceful, her silhouette unmistakably feminine, and yet the armor-like plates along her spine whispered of something predatory, something built to hunt and endure. And I whispered before I could stop myself, "You are the most beautiful thing I have ever seen." For a moment, the words seemed to vanish into the alien winds. And then she slowly turned around. The war for Meridian. We were fighting the Kyraxi, an insectoid empire that considered anything not birthed from their hives to be fuel or food. They had overrun half the Meridian sector, leaving cities like husks, worlds like carcasses. Humanity's fledgling colonies were barely holding on, and the United Terran Defense Fleet had sent us, special forces, into the worst of it. The mission was simple: sabotage a Kyraxi spawning tower before the next cycle. If we failed, billions of larvae would pour into the skies like a living storm. Except the mission wasn't simple at all. By the time my squad touched down, half of us were already dead from orbital interceptors. The other half fought our way through smoking ruins, dodging patrols, hiding in shadows, bleeding and burning just to make another step. And then I found her. At first, I thought she was some kind of advanced Kyraxi bioform, left to guard the city's edge. But when her eyes met mine, 2 orbs glowing faint silver, deep and unfathomable, I realized I was wrong. There was intelligence there. Sadness even. Later, much later, I would learn her name. Lyrithis. And I would learn she was the last of her kind. 2. An unlikely alliance. When she spoke, it was not with words but with resonance. The air vibrated, and somehow my brain translated it into meaning. "You are not of the swarm." "No," I said hoarsely, rifle raised. "Human. And you. Forgotten. Abandoned. I am the last breath of a people consumed." Her gaze never wavered. She didn't flinch at the weapon. She didn't move closer either. She simply existed with the weight of someone who had watched everything else die. That night I should have walked away. Radioed command. Finished the mission alone. Instead I lowered the rifle. Because there was something in her presence that felt vital. As if she wasn't just another alien in this broken galaxy, but a key to something larger. Over the next days, as I tried to navigate the city's ruins, she appeared again and again. Sometimes she led me through hidden paths, her bioluminescence a quiet beacon. Sometimes she vanished for hours, only to return with food, not human rations, but nutrient roots and fruits untouched by Kyraxi toxins. And slowly, she began to speak more. Her people had been called the Erendralis, an old civilization that once thrived in Meridian. They had resisted the Kyraxi for centuries until their worlds fell, one by one. She alone had survived, though survival seemed less like a gift than a curse. "You should have let them take me too," she told me one night, her voice trembling the stones around us. I shook my head. Then the galaxy would have lost its most beautiful thing. She stared at me then, silver eyes widening slightly. For the first time I thought she might believe me. 3. Fire in the hive. The sabotage mission couldn't wait. Kyraxi swarm ships were gathering in orbit, and the spawning tower cycle was accelerating. My squad was gone. I was alone. Except I wasn't. Lyrathis guided me beneath the hive spire, through tunnels still bearing the scars of her people's last stand. She moved with purpose, but also with hesitation, as though each corridor was a wound reopened. "Their heart beats here," she whispered, pressing a hand against the wall. I could feel it too, the thrum of larvae, the pulse of something vast and hungry. Planting the charges was a nightmare. Kyraxi drones patrolled constantly, and I only made it through because Lyrathis bent the shadows, cloaking us in her strange resonance. She could confuse their senses, warp their perception just enough to let us pass. But when the final charge was set, the swarm descended. Hundreds of drones shrieking, chitin scraping stone. I fought like a man possessed, rifles screaming, grenades echoing like thunder. But I would have died there, buried beneath an avalanche of claws, if not for her. Lyrathis unleashed herself. Light poured from her veins, a cascade of silver fire that rippled across the chamber. Her voice rose into a resonant scream, and the Kyraxi convulsed as though their minds had been shattered. Some fell writhing, others fled, their coordination fractured. It bought us time to escape. It bought me the chance to hit the detonator. The hive spire erupted behind us, a column of fire devouring the night. For the first time in years I laughed. She did not. "They will come," she said softly. "The swarm always comes." And she was right. For the flight across Meridian, the Kyraxi did not forgive. For days we ran. Through broken cities, across shattered bridges, into forests that still burned with chemical flame. Drones hunted us relentlessly, guided by some vast intelligence pulsing in orbit. Lyrathis shielded us as best she could, weaving confusion into their ranks, bending echoes and light. But each time she did, I saw her weaken, the glow of her veins dimming. "You're killing yourself," I told her. "Life is already spent," she replied. "If my end buys even one heartbeat of defiance, it is enough." I hated her for saying that, because it meant she had already accepted what I couldn't. And yet, in those long nights when we huddled in the ruins and the sky burned with swarm ships, we spoke of things beyond war. She asked me about Earth, about oceans and mountains, about music and laughter. I told her everything, painting pictures with words until her silver eyes softened, as if she could almost see it. In return, she told me of the Arendralis, of cities that floated among crystal rivers, of voices that resonated in harmony across miles, of a people who had never known loneliness until the Kyraxi came. We were two remnants, clinging to memory in a galaxy that had forgotten us. And against all odds we began to love. The last stand. We made it to the extraction point, a plateau scarred by bombardment, overlooking what was left of Meridian's largest city. The fleet had promised evac, but only silence answered my hails. Above, the swarm descended. Tens of thousands. Check my rifle. 2 magazines left. Few grenades. Not nearly enough. "This is where it ends," I muttered. Lyrathis stepped beside me, her glow faint but steady. "Then let it end beautifully." She reached for my hand. Her skin was cool, smooth as stone polished by rivers. For a moment we simply stood there, watching the swarm blacken the sky.